Hello everybody and welcome back to PlayStation Source. My name is Christian and I hope you're enjoying this week, whether you're in the US or anywhere else in the world. It's a special week, it's a good week, fun to celebrate the holidays, the beginning of the holiday season for a lot of people. But today I want to talk about something specific, something more niche. I want to talk about PlayStation VR. So if you saw Kevin's Black Friday deal video he posted the other day, link to that down below. You can see the card in the corner. He mentioned that a lot of places have PlayStation VR deals this season. And I got a PlayStation VR about a month ago. I got it the headset only. I got a camera separately. I do not have the Move controllers yet. Planning on getting those. But I wanted to make a video talking about PlayStation VR, my experience with it so far, and why I think now is the absolute best time to pick up PlayStation VR. So starting off with all of the PlayStation VR talk for today, basically the gist of it is a lot of places have $200 to $250 depending on what's included in the bundle. Most places are doing $100 off of the regular price of $300 to $350. So there's lots of bundles out there. Look into those if you're curious, but now I want to talk about why I really think it's worth it. So starting last gen with the PS3, when I played Flower for the first time, I really discovered that I love having a game like Flower that's really just a place to chill out and relax. And first off, VR has supplied me with that for this generation. PlayStation VR is, if you haven't tried it, very immersive. It's a great entry point for VR. It isn't the high-end stuff you will get with an Oculus. It is a little bit more of a narrow view sight, but it is still very immersive. First off, I want to say Tetris Effect is a fantastic game. I talked a ton about Tetris Effect on last week's Cross Circle. I will also link to that down below so you can hear me gush about how much I love Tetris Effect. But Tetris Effect supplies you with something I wanted from VR, and it's a sense of being able to travel. In Tetris Effect, you have lots of choice. You can go play Tetris on the top of Mount Everest. You can watch the Aurora Borealis on top of a mountain. You can go in the desert. You can go on the moon. You can be underwater swimming with dolphins, looking down at the Earth. And even on the home screen, you can just sit there in VR like Superman looking over the globe and fly around and find where you are. Tetris can get a little hectic, but if you chill out, you're given lots of chances to just relax and take in the environments around you, and that's why Tetris Effect is just so special. Tetris Effect is brand new. It's around 40 bucks right now. I don't think it's on sale anywhere, but for what it's worth, there is a lot to unpack in Tetris Effect. I've put at least 15-20 hours into it so far, and I have not even touched every single mode they supply. There's a lot there, but let's move on to the next thing. PlayStation VR also now has two heavy hitters, with a third coming down the road very soon, and that is AAA game experiences that we have played before. First off, let's talk Skyrim. So Skyrim VR is a separate purchase from traditional Skyrim, so if you have the special edition, you will have to buy a separate version of Skyrim to play in VR only, but this version of Skyrim does come with all the DLC like the previous ones. You cannot mod this version just because of the technical limitations, but that really doesn't matter because you are in Skyrim. You are physically in Skyrim. You can use the move wands, you can use those for archery, aiming, sword fighting, real-time motion with weapons. The moves act as your hands. If you want to get all magical, you can heal, you can do your Sith lightning. Pretty much everything you can do in Skyrim, you can do in Skyrim VR, and because of that, it really does provide PlayStation VR owners with a full campaign, full RPG to dive into in VR. Now, again, Skyrim is a bit of an older game. It's not as pretty as some other things built for VR, or with VR in mind when they were developing it, but if that is the case, you can always check out Resident Evil 7, which from the get-go of its reveal was announced to be fully playable in PlayStation VR. This is one I have not gotten yet. I am planning on picking it up for Black Friday. It's around 12 bucks at Walmart, I think, and as a casual fan of Resident Evil, I have not played all of them, but I love their vibes, and I've seen a lot of Resident Evil 7. I'm so excited to play that in VR. I really don't do well with horror, but Resident Evil, I cannot wait to just sit down in that haunted, decaying mansion and just try and survive. It's an appealing notion of VR that the VR headset takes you to a place physically at sometimes. Like, it really feels like you are there. It's a different way to play games, and if you have the money, I really think it's worth checking out. I did mention, though, there is a third big heavy hitter coming very soon, and that is Borderlands 2 VR. Now, this version of the game, from what I'm aware of, does not have the DLC, does not have multiplayer. It is a single-player version of the main campaign from Borderlands. Your side quests are there, there's just no DLC. So, similar to Skyrim, it is a way to transport yourself to a world you may have been a fan of in the past and really feel like you live there. Borderlands, I haven't been a huge fan of really, but in a VR setting, I'm more inclined to check it out because I think more so than Skyrim, Borderlands will feel more natural because of its art style. It's going to be less jarring seeing a semi-realistic lizard man or a dirty-faced Nord Viking than it would be to see a robot or a bartender in a cel-shaded style. And taking these franchises into account, Skyrim continues to sell very well on PlayStation VR. A really surprising percentage of players played Resident Evil 7 in VR, and Borderlands VR, I'm sure, is either going to sell people on the system or get people who have VR to check out Borderlands finally. So considering how well these have done, the people who own the VR units are buying into these experiences, I would not be surprised to see Resident Evil 8 support VR again, Borderlands 3 to have some sort of VR support, or even something else from Bethesda. Because outside of Skyrim, we do have Doom VFR, which I haven't checked out. I want to, and a host of other games adapted to the VR landscape. But more in line with Tetris Effect, this year seems like it's been a killer year for releases made for PlayStation VR. Two sticking out in my head are the recently released this week, actually, Beat Saber, which has been a huge VR hit. It's gone viral so many times. You've seen it. If you know what it is, you've seen it. I'm sure you have. It's the two lightsabers, one red, one blue, and you're basically playing Guitar Hero to music. People have included so many different tracks. I saw one the other day that was a Queen song. Beat Saber is awesome. So that just dropped on the PlayStation Store, as well as Astrobot Rescue Mission earlier this year. And if this was a Nintendo game, everybody would be covering it insanely everywhere. Astrobot Rescue Mission is a fantastic game. Astrobot is basically a 3D platformer in the vein of Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. You're going from A to B like a traditional Mario level, going through each level, using the VR headset to sort of really explore that environment, find hidden secrets, find little robot buddies to rescue, and just doing collectibles, a traditional 3D platformer experience. However, with PlayStation VR, the team at Japan Studios was able to really create tons of unique experiences and ways to explore in PlayStation VR. The first night I tried out Astrobot, actually, I almost leaned on an imaginary wall that wasn't really there because I was trying to look over it, and it was a good thing I did because there was an extra robot behind the wall. Stuff like that, and the creativity and secrets you can create using a VR headset is really fantastic. But enough about the games, I just want to quickly mention my experience with PlayStation VR. I think it's a great product. I think it's built very well. It's consumer friendly. It's a low price. It's a good way to experience VR. If you want to try out VR, I recommend this way highly over any of the Samsung Gear, smartphone, Google Cardboard VR headsets, because those are cool in the fact that you can look around in an environment kind of, but it's still flat and it's not the best quality. PlayStation VR is pretty sweet when it comes to the quality. I'm actually very surprised because before I got it, I always heard that it looks blurry or jaggy, and while that may be the case with some games, a lot of others hold up very well in VR. Like Tetris Effect looks crisp in PlayStation VR. On top of all the games, you can watch videos in VR, you can download those to your PS4 from the internet, you can watch movies in VR. Hulu even has a VR mode where you sit in a virtual penthouse and watch basically whatever you want to watch on Hulu on a giant movie theater screen. It's a cool experience. I don't think I'd watch Hulu like that at extensive lengths, but it is pretty sweet to try out. But more than ever with PlayStation VR right now, me getting in right at this moment, I haven't really followed the VR scene too much leading up to my purchase, but after the fact, seeing what's available, I'm very impressed. There are so many, there's at least one killer app per genre at this point. Firewall Zero Hour is an awesome multiplayer first-person shooter, Rainbow Six Siege style, which I didn't even mention. We have Astrobot and Moss on the side of platformers, both of which are awesome, and I'm really excited to try out Moss. We have survival horror with The Persistence and Resident Evil 7, like I mentioned earlier. Both of those get high acclaim. Lots of walking sims, which can be very entertaining, especially in VR, because there's so much more interaction between you and the environment. We have a full RPG with Skyrim, we have smaller RPG-like experiences, and loads of way to experience travel or different parts of the world, different environments, with things like Tetris Effect and so many others on the PlayStation Network. And to me, the biggest selling point, the reason I bought PlayStation VR, is because I'm so excited for Dreams. Now, Dreams really hasn't gotten a ton of mainstream coverage, really at all, aside from its announcement and confusion on what the game is, but ever since they announced it was going to be compatible with PlayStation VR, that sold me so hard. Because if you think of Little Big Planet, if you think of the community that fostered, the creative minds that got to work on that game, Dreams is just going to take that to the next level, and being able to experience people's creations of full games pretty much in PlayStation VR is very appealing because it's almost an endless supply of games to try out and experiment with. And me personally, I'm not the best when it comes to level creation in games, so I don't think I'm going to be building any games in Dreams, but I will absolutely be sculpting in Dreams, creating pieces of art, listening to music in my headphones, just chilling out, relaxing in a virtual studio, and sculpting, painting, drawing in VR. I think that's super appealing. Like I said, I love that kind of experience, like with Flower or Tetris Effect, and VR is just another way to immerse myself even further into those experiences, and for me that is super worth it, especially for just $200. And I guess when you include all the games I talked about and all the ones I didn't, it's pretty worth it at this point. So that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter of PlayStation VR as of right now. Again, I haven't experienced everything I've wanted to before I made this video yet, but I figured I should put this out there because PlayStation VR is getting a decent price cut this Black Friday, and I really do think if you're curious about it like I was, I almost bought this on a whim because I heard it was cheaper. It was $150 for the headset separately, and I pretty much paid full price for it at this point, but it really is an awesome experience. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I cannot recommend it enough if you've been curious about it. If you're not and this makes you curious, look into it a little more, and I still think you should check it out because for the price, for all the experiences you can get on it, and for what is going to be coming down the line, I think VR is here to stay. I don't think it's a gimmick, and I think having this as a new way to experience stories and games is pretty game-changing. So that's going to wrap up all my thoughts on the PlayStation VR for right now, but I appreciate it if you stuck around and watched. If you enjoy me talking about VR, I'm sure there's going to be more of this coming on PlayStation Source in the future when I get to more games on the headset. But thank you again for watching. Enjoy your week, enjoy your Thanksgiving, good luck on Black Friday, and as always, greatness awaits.